I took the warehouse night shift because it was quiet and because the pay was better than delivery driving. The company handled medical supplies and electronics. Nothing glamorous, just pallets stacked high and scanners that beeped like mechanical birds. My job was simple. Watch the monitors, do hourly patrols, log anything unusual, and never let anyone in without a badge. The building sat outside Columbus, Ohio, on a wide industrial road with nothing around it but empty lots and a line of trees that looked black at night. I didn't mind the loneliness. I liked the feeling that the night belonged to me. The first 2 weeks were normal. The cameras had small blind spots, the motion sensors sometimes triggered when the air conditioning kicked in, and one of the loading dock lights flickered like it was losing a fight with the dark. I learned every sound and every rhythm. I learned how the vending machine rattled when it dropped a snack, and how the elevator cable moaned when it carried a pallet to the second-level storage. Nothing surprised me until the third Friday, when the camera labeled 17 showed movement at a time it should have been empty. Camera 17 was pointed at the far end of the main aisle, the section where the older pallets were stored and where the lights were dimmer. The feed wasn't great there. The image always looked slightly grainy, like dust lived inside the lens. At 2:11 a.m., the motion alert popped up on my screen. I glanced at it without much concern, expecting to see a rat or a drifting plastic sheet. Instead, I saw a figure standing at the very end of the aisle, just a silhouette between the racks, perfectly still. I leaned forward. The figure didn't move. It looked tall, almost too tall, and its head was angled slightly downward, like it was staring at the floor. I checked the timestamp to make sure the feed wasn't frozen. The seconds were ticking normally. The silhouette remained motionless. I zoomed in with the digital controls, and the image sharpened just enough for me to see something that made my stomach tighten. The figure was facing the camera. It wasn't looking down. It was looking directly into the lens. I did what security training told me to do. I radioed the night supervisor, though I already knew nobody would answer at that hour. Then I grabbed my flashlight and walked out from behind the desk, telling myself I was dealing with a trespasser. The warehouse was huge. Sound traveled strangely, swallowed by boxes and metal shelving. My footsteps echoed in a way that made them feel delayed. Every time my boot hit the concrete, it sounded like someone behind me was stepping half a beat later. I reached the main aisle and pointed my flashlight down the long corridor of racks. The beam cut through floating dust. The far end of the aisle was empty. No silhouette, no movement, just stacked pallets and labels and the faint hum of the lights. I looked back at the monitors on my phone through the security app. Camera 17 still showed the figure. It was still standing there, facing the lens, not moving. I turned around slowly in the real aisle, sweeping the flashlight left and right, and saw nothing. I lifted the light higher, checking the tops of the racks, the shadows, the gaps. Nothing. The air felt normal. The smell of cardboard and plastic filled my nose. I could hear the ventilation system and the distant click of a relay in the electrical room. Everything looked real and quiet. But on the screen, the figure tilted its head. The movement was subtle, the way a person might move when they're curious. It tilted once, then returned to center. Then it lifted one arm and made a small motion like a wave, slow and deliberate. I swallowed hard, my throat suddenly dry. I did not wave back. I stepped sideways, and on my phone screen, the figure stepped sideways too, mirroring my movement perfectly. I stopped, and it stopped. I raised my flashlight, and on the screen, it raised its arm. Not a flashlight, just an arm lifting into the air like it was copying me. It was mimicking me. I turned my phone sideways for a better view, and my heart dropped. The figure's outline wasn't random. The shoulders, the stance, the way the feet were placed, even the slight slouch in the posture, matched mine exactly. It wasn't just a tall silhouette. It was my silhouette, stretched and blurred by the camera's grainy feed. The warehouse around me felt suddenly enormous, like the distance between me and the end of the aisle had doubled. I backed away, keeping the phone in front of me, watching the figure on the screen mimic every step. My flashlight beam shook. The light above flickered once. The sound of my footsteps echoed again, delayed. When I reached the security desk, I slammed the door behind me and locked it, even though the desk area wasn't designed to be a secure room. I sat down, breathing hard, and pulled up the camera feeds on the main monitor wall. Camera 17 still showed the figure, only now it was closer, halfway down the aisle, as if it had been walking forward while I was running back, except it hadn't moved in any normal way. It had simply advanced between frames, like a video skipping ahead. I watched the timestamp. The seconds ticked normally. The figure didn't move. It was just closer than before. I clicked through other cameras to confirm. Camera 16 looked down the same aisle from a different angle. It showed nothing. Camera 18 showed the cross aisle, empty. Only camera 17 saw it. I tried to reset camera 17 from the system panel. The interface froze, then displayed an error message, "Device busy." I tried again, the same message. I unplugged the monitor feed and plugged it back in. The camera image flickered, turned black for a second, then returned. The figure was now standing right in front of the lens, so close that the grainy image couldn't resolve details, just a dark shape filling the frame. But I could make out the edges of a face, and I realized it wasn't looking into the camera anymore. It was looking past it, straight towards the desk area, as if it knew exactly where I was sitting. My phone vibrated. A notification appeared from the security system, but it wasn't in the usual format. It didn't show a camera number or an alert type. It displayed a single line of text, plain and cold. "It's your turn." The lights in the security office dimmed. Not off, just weaker, like the building was inhaling. The warehouse hum dropped in pitch. The air felt heavier. And from somewhere beyond the desk door, deep in the warehouse, I heard a sound that did not belong to machines. A careful, slow knock on metal. One knock. A pause. Another knock. Like someone testing a door they knew would open. I sat perfectly still and listened. The knock came again. Not louder, not faster, but closer, as if the sound was traveling down the warehouse one metal surface at a time. The security office door was thin, more about privacy than protection. I kept my eyes on the monitor wall, especially camera 17, because it felt like looking away would be the same as turning my back on something that had already chosen me. The feed on camera 17 jittered. For a second, the image broke into blocks of gray and black. When it stabilized, the silhouette was no longer pressed against the lens. It had stepped back, far enough for me to see its outline again. It stood centered, head tilted slightly, like it was considering. Then it lifted its hand toward the camera. Slowly, the fingers curled and straightened, as if it was learning how hands work by remembering mine. My phone buzzed again, another line of text. "Move to aisle 17. I didn't. I shut my phone off completely and set it face down on the desk. Then I opened the system panel on the desktop computer and pulled the building map. The warehouse was laid out in long aisles like a grid, with emergency exits at each end. Aisle 17 was near the far wall, close to the loading docks. The security office sat near the front entrance, a long walk away. I grabbed the radio and tried calling the on-call supervisor again. Static. I tried dialing 911, but my cell signal showed 1 bar and then dropped to none. The Wi-Fi indicator on the computer flashed and went dark. It felt like the building had disconnected itself, like a device switching to airplane mode. The knock came again, now from the hallway outside my office, not on the warehouse racks, not on distant metal, on the wall just beyond my door. The sound was gentle, polite, measured. 3 taps. I stared at the handle. It didn't move, but I felt pressure in the room, the same pressure you feel in an elevator when it starts to drop. The lights dimmed another notch. The desk fan slowed, its blades turning like they were pushing through syrup. I forced myself to breathe and opened the office door. The corridor outside was empty. The overhead light above the doorway flickered once and steadied. The warehouse stretched beyond, dark and quiet. My flashlight beam swept across concrete floor and shelves. No figure, no footsteps, no rustle of clothing, nothing human. But on the monitor wall behind me, camera 17 flashed a bright red error icon. I turned back to it and saw the feed had changed. It wasn't showing the aisle anymore. It was showing the security office. The angle was wrong. Camera 17 wasn't supposed to see inside here. Yet the feed displayed my desk, my chair, and the door I had just opened. I was in the frame, standing in the doorway with the flashlight in my hand. The image was grainy and slightly delayed, like a cheap live stream. And behind me on that feed, in the far corner of the office where the shadow was deepest, something stood. It was my shape, but not fully formed, a silhouette that didn't match the light sources. It leaned forward slightly, as if it was trying to stand the way I stood. It copied the angle of my shoulders, the position of my head, the tilt of my flashlight arm. It held no flashlight, but the outline of its hand was raised in the same gesture. I turned around. The corner was empty. I looked back at the monitor. The silhouette was still there. It stepped closer to my chair in the feed, without moving in the real room. The delay was only a fraction of a second, but it felt deliberate, like a gap it could use. A third notification appeared on the screen, not on my phone this time, on the desktop itself, as if the building had learned to speak through any device connected to it. Aisle 17. It's your turn. Don't make them wait. I slammed the office door shut and locked it. My pulse thudded in my ears. My mind tried to build a plan, but the plan kept collapsing under one question. What did it mean by turn, and who were they? Then the monitor wall flashed again, another feed activated by itself. Camera 12, the loading dock entrance. The loading dock door was open. It should have been locked. I had checked it earlier. The outside was darkness, rain streaking across the lens, and the dock's floodlights were off. In the center of the dock, under the weak spill of interior light, stood a line of figures. Not one figure, a line. They were arranged neatly, shoulder to shoulder, facing inward, as if waiting to enter. They didn't move like people. Their outlines were soft, as though the camera couldn't focus on them, but their arrangement was precise. Their stillness was orderly. The first one in line stepped forward. No footstep sound, no shift of weight. It simply changed position, advancing a few inches toward the open dock door, like a cue progressing when the counter opens. My stomach twisted. The word from the notification returned to me with new clarity. Turn. Cue. The security office door handle clicked gently, once, like someone trying it without force. The knock followed, polite as before. 3 taps. I backed away from the door and stared at camera 12. The cue advanced again by a tiny amount. The figures remained faceless, but I could feel their attention through the screen. The dock door was an invitation, and the building had provided it. Then camera 17 returned to its normal view of the aisle, and my blood ran cold. The silhouette was now standing at the end of aisle 17 again, but it wasn't tall anymore. It wasn't stretched by the camera's distortion. It looked exactly like me in uniform. Same posture, same flashlight shape in its hand, except the flashlight was off. Its face was blurred by the distance, but the shape of it was my face. The longer I stared, the more the blur began to sharpen, as if the camera was learning to focus. The thing lifted its flashlight and turned it on. The beam pointed straight into the lens, flooding the feed with white light. Then the feed went dark. The warehouse lights dimmed almost to nothing. The emergency exit sign glowed green above the office door. In the darkness, I heard the soft squeak of rubber soles on concrete outside, slow, measured, like someone pacing, not searching, like someone approaching a counter when their number is called. I grabbed my own flashlight and turned it on, aiming the bright circle on the handle and the lock, steady and hard. The pacing sound stopped. For a moment, the building was silent. Then the knock came again, this time from inside the office. 3 taps. I spun around. The sound had come from the wall behind my desk, the metal filing cabinet, the place where sound shouldn't come from unless something was already here. My flashlight beam jittered across the room and landed on the corner, empty. But the monitor wall showed camera 17 again, and now it displayed the office feed, the wrong feed, the impossible angle, and in that feed, the silhouette stood directly behind me, so close that it filled the frame. Its face was my face now, clear enough to recognize, but wrong in the smallest ways, like a photo that had been edited by someone who'd never met the person in real life. The eyes were too still. The smile came a second too late. It raised a hand in the feed. In the real room, I felt cold fingers brush the back of my neck. I jerked forward, nearly dropping the flashlight. The touch wasn't violent. It was a confirmation, like a barcode scanner beep, like a system checking an entry. My phone, still off, vibrated anyway. I didn't touch it. It vibrated again, then again, with mechanical patience. The emergency exit sign above the door flickered, and for the first time I realized the exit door was slightly open. I hadn't opened it. The gap was small, just enough for cold air to slip in. Rain smell, outside darkness. The building was giving me a path. The cue on camera 12 advanced again. I understood then that the warehouse didn't want a fight. It wanted a process. It wanted me to walk to aisle 17, then to the loading dock, then out into the night, one step at a time, like following instructions on a screen. The figures weren't rushing because they didn't need to. The system would deliver me. Unless I broke the logic. Unless I stopped being an entry. I turned my flashlight on myself and aimed the beam at my chest, my hands, my face, flooding my own body with light. The instinct felt ridiculous, but I remembered something from my training about cameras and reflections, about how a bright light can blind a lens and ruin a capture. The office monitors glitched, the wrong feed stuttered, the silhouette behind me on camera 17 flickered as if it couldn't resolve my shape anymore. I took a step, still shining the light on myself. The cold presence behind me seemed to hesitate. The vibration in my phone stopped. I moved toward the exit door, never letting the flashlight beam leave my body, as if I was trying to overexpose myself to the world, to become too bright to record. My reflection in the office window looked strange, washed out and ghostly, but it matched my movement perfectly, no delay. The moment I crossed the threshold into the rain, the warehouse lights behind me flared once and then went out. The loading dock door slammed shut with a boom that shook the ground. I ran through the parking lot, rain pouring harder now, and didn't stop until I reached the main road, where other lights existed, where other cameras